Welcome, everyone, to an Inner MBA true story, an amazing transformation of John Kenny, a dear friend to many here. If you are new, welcome. We can't wait to connect with you. This will be an interactive experience for the next 90 minutes. John will share his story in 3 parts, and we will weave in breakout rooms for sharing, reflecting, and creating connections. Andrea is here, and she will guide us in a word cloud after each breakout room so that you can share what came up for you. You can participate in that word cloud with your camera on your phone. And if that doesn't work, you can always just put it into the chat. We will then share some videos of gratitude sprinkled throughout. So with that, let's get started. John Kenny lives in Scotland with his wife, Gail, and has 4 children. This is his 4th year in the Inner MBA. He has been a community leader. He has ran connection groups, such as the Artist's Way, and developing and delivering leadership programs for organizations. He spent 29 years working for the Scottish EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, working his way up to senior management and becoming a senior executive. He is now navigating the transition of leaving the only organization he's ever wanted to work for. In addition, he and Gail are leaving what has been the family home in Perth for almost 25 years to move to Glasgow. This has coincided with a profound spiritual and physical transformation over the past 2 years, where John has found levels of peace and contentment that he could never have imagined. Going from not being able to walk up the street outside his home to the local park to running a marathon. John is filled with gratitude for this transformation and feels called to be of service going forward, with a deep knowing that the best way to do this is by sharing his story and the lessons he has learned along the way. So that's what we're going to do here now, is hear from John.
Thanks, Heather. It's a bit overwhelming. I'm glad you're on Spotlight now, because seeing everybody else's faces there, it's like, wow, so many people that mean so much to me, and I've played such a big part in where I'm at now. So yeah, it's wonderful to be here. Wonderful.
Now, I'm going to just invite you right now. We didn't plan this, but let's just take a nice deep breath for everyone. So I'm just going to go right in and ask John, tell us, I'm sure people want to hear, what brought you to the Inner MBA?
I think I'd probably have to start that with chronic pain, because if it hadn't been for my journey with pain, I wouldn't have gone down this path. So I'll probably go back to about 1994. I was very fit at the time. I did triathlons. I did a big cycle on my own, the length of the United Kingdom, and damaged the nerves in my toes. And basically that was me done for the bike for 30 years. I then got into hiking, going up mountains. Then I hurt my knees. Then I got into soccer, hurt my ankle. It was so bad at times that I wish it could be amputated. I still didn't see any pattern here. Then threw myself into kayaking and really pushed myself there. And that coupled with work, by the time I got to about 2000 and had my first child, our daughter Jodie, I couldn't lift her. I couldn't change her nappy. I think you guys call them diapers. I was in pain 24/7, unable to sleep, anxious. Gail had to shave me and brush my teeth, and so that's the genesis of I guess going down this path.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure most people on this call are wondering, with that level of pain and deterioration, and body failing. How did you cope with all of that?
I was very driven. I believed you could do anything with a plan, and I look now and I think, well, on some levels I did cope, but on other levels I can see now that I didn't actually cope, even though I thought I was coping. I put all my energy into work in the family. We had 4 children. I rose to executive, but I was devastated not being able to be particularly physically active with the children, not being able to help them ride a bike, kick a football with them, just run about with them, play with them, all these kind of things. Everything was through the lens of pain. I was defined by what I couldn't do. And at times with that came an anxiety. I tried every kind of treatment you could imagine. The two things helped a bit were the Alexander technique. That was the first time I was exposed to this kind of mind-body connection and how one impacted the other. And then there was Eckhart Tolle. I went to an amazing retreat that my family got me for my 50th birthday present, which obviously wasn't that long ago, to upstate New York. And that was
Can you see me?
amazing experience. And then after going on that retreat, I was at the time I had my dream job. I was in charge of learning and development, trade union relations, all the stuff that I really loved. So I looked really hard for some kind of course that would help me bring what I was learning in the professional life and my personal life into the workplace. Whether it was coaching, I was trying really hard to find a course for about 18 months. And then one day I was meditating. I got into that from the Eckhart Tolle retreat, and I had the first experience, I guess, of what I would now call my inner voice, which you'll hear me talk about quite a lot. But this was the first experience. During the meditation, I had this feeling that I had to stop searching for the perfect course, that the right thing would come along, and I had to stop trying. And that very night, I opened up my email, and there was an email from Soundstrue about this Inner MBA. I guess they had my details because I'd done the Eckhart Tolle retreat through them. And I opened up this video, and I can picture it clearly where I was sitting, where I was looking, and about 30 seconds into this video, my whole body was saying, "That's the course. That's the course. You have to do this course." And I think it was the person from Patagonia, Rose, somebody, she said, ask questions so big that only your life could answer. And I was just like, wow, that's what I've been looking for.
I've known John for a long time, first as a colleague and now as a friend. I'm full of gratitude for the Inner MBA, and it was John that enabled me to get onto that. Gratitude for John, for the discussions we've had. There's something about talking to somebody else who gets it, to kind of solidify the learning. I'm really grateful because I think it's changed my life. My connection with John has brought joy into my life in all sorts of different ways. I'm grateful for this opportunity to express my gratitude to John, to the Inner MBA community, and to the universe.
You embody what the Inner MBA means to me. Authenticity, vulnerability, a loving, kind heart, and infinite wisdom. I admire your courage and your tenacity. It's been a pleasure getting to know you. Thank you for being on this journey with me and everybody else in the Inner MBA. I truly appreciate and grateful for all of you.
My first Inner MBA was a profound, life-changing experience, and John's group had one of the biggest impacts on me. Thanks to John, I truly understood for the first time the power of an authentic community, a safe space where each member genuinely cares for each other, free from judgment. His guidance and leadership created room for everyone, shaping a highly diverse group that could manage itself and grow collectively. This has been deeply inspiring and has given me a whole new perspective on relationships. John, thank you from the bottom of my heart for your vibrant energy and for being a friend, a mentor, and a giant on my journey.
Say thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
And thank you, Inner MBA.
Thank you, Inner MBA.
You changed our lives.
You
say that?
changed her life.
Which changes your life, trust me.
First of all, I'm so grateful for this Inner MBA community. Since I joined in 2021, my life has transformed enormously. Since I joined the Inner MBA program, I feel more alive, aligned. There is a strong sense of purpose. And I'm grateful particularly to you for your enormous courage, curiosity, and trust.
What I want to say, John, is that it's been a pleasure and a privilege getting to know you. Thank you so much for being such a huge supporter of the Blink into Being sessions that I used to lead. And I have to say, I learned so much from you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being you. Thank you for being so resilient and giving so much grace to all of us and creating that safe space for that connection. I'm truly grateful to the Inner MBA for giving us that soft place to land and for all of us to connect.
I'm very grateful to John for being an example of living your life with heart. John embodies that end, and I really appreciate the fact that within the Inner MBA, I've gotten to know a good example of a man who is sensitive and vulnerable and authentic. And whenever you're with John, he always just makes you feel seen, which is also a really nice thing. So thank you, John. It's been a pleasure being part of the journey together.
Ancient tradition says a snow moon is a symbol of endurance and resilience. As I express my gratitude, I'm holding space for the gifts of your journey. And I want to share with you that your light has shone so brightly.
Those videos, John, how does it feel?
Yeah, I'd love to meet that guy.
Love that.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
And I'm reminded by one of my inner circle members in the last session we just had. They talked about how the co-creation of what we're doing here, we're all flourishing together. So you created this gratitude party because you wanted to share your gratitude for all these people. And here they are showing all their gratitude for you. Oof. Well, let's move into your next phase of your story. You know what?
Heather, before you do that, Heather, I want to thank you for pushing me and challenging me to allow people to do that, because when we first planned this, I didn't want that to be part of the session. I didn't want it to be about me. I wanted it to be about me expressing gratitude to others, but it truly has been a amazing experience to receive them. So thank you and for everybody who put them together.
And thank you for trusting. So we know what brought you to the Inner MBA. Why don't you share with everyone, what was it like, that initial experience when you joined?
Yeah, I was like a sponge. It was amazing. All these amazing people, amazing teachers. That was really new to me, this world, and I was like a sponge. It was amazing. I threw myself into it, and it seemed like everything that came up was just what I needed. There was also a new language that I struggled with. I was quite skeptical of some of it. Like when people would talk about connecting, I was like, why can't they just say meeting, or we're holding space, or co-creating? This language I didn't really understand it and was skeptical of it. Now these are terms I use myself now, and that community was really important there for me. The healing circle, the trust circle. I would, these community offerings, I wouldn't miss them unless there was something really important I had to miss. They were amazing spaces, safe spaces to connect with people. That was me, where I did learn and understand this language. People were given language to the things that I was experiencing, that I thought I was the only person in the world that experienced them. I didn't know other people had and had been through what I was going through. It was just amazing, that community. I learned so much. You know, did an offering of my own with Kate, who's on the call, and what I learned there was, like, you talk about co-creation. That was another one of those words. I thought, well, what does that mean? And that allowed me to see that for a lot of my working life, I thought I was inclusive and worked with other people, but what I was able to see that a lot of the time I was actually thought I had the answer and was listening to people, but not really listening to them and taking on their thoughts and coming up with better. But working with Kate allowed me to really see the benefits of really working together with someone and being open to other people's ideas rather than going in with an agenda of trying to persuade them to fit with what you thought you knew. So I just learned so much. But the challenges of the executive role I was in, we had the COVID, leading an organisation through COVID. We had a cyber attack that had a devastating impact on the organisation. There was difficult HR issues we were dealing with, and that being tied to my computer had a devastating impact on me. I had, my normal working day previously, I'd been going to meetings and stuff, but on my upper body, I couldn't get away from the computer due to the cyber attack. We had to put in a 22-letter password, which left me in agony every time I put it in. I couldn't take a break because if I took a break, the computer locked. So I was in complete agony 24/7. I lost the use of my right arm. I couldn't sleep, anxiety, but still at that point, didn't stop working, So.
Yeah. Sounds like
powered through. I just powered through. I did what I always did and just powered through, despite what I was learning.
Yeah, it sounds like even after a year of being in the Inner MBA, you were still tied to this identity of pushing yourself, pushing through all of it. And you mentioned community circles, the healing circle, the trust circle. Sure, people are wondering, were there any offerings you experienced that led you to a defining moment?
There was lots. If there was one probably defining moment where everything changed, it was working with Teresa. I'll mention a few people that I've worked with. If they're on the call, please feel free to put your shameless plug and your details into the chat, because these are great people who have all helped me enormously. So feel free to put your details in the chat. Teresa had led the Trust Circle, still does, and I'd had this inner voice to work with her on a one-to-one basis. My mind said no, that'd be a family holiday. You can't justify that kind of money. You need, etc. But I spoke to Gail, and she was hugely supportive as ever. And I started working with Gail. And then before the last session with Teresa, we had this idea to bring Gail into the session. I thought that'd be good for Teresa to get Gail's perspective on me. And also it would be helpful for Gail to understand this world, in an MBA world that I was part of, because I kept them, up until today, actually, both very separate. There's people now here who are friends out with in an MBA, and this is the first time I've had that kind of confidence to bring them together. Anyway, and Teresa asked me in that last session to speak about what the last 3 years have been like. So I told her about the COVID, the cyber attack, the other challenges the organisation was feeling, and she paused right at the end. It was almost right at the end of the last session, and she said, "You've spoke about that, and you haven't mentioned yourself once. All you've done is spoke about the impact on other people." And I was like, "Well, yes. So what?" I was thinking inside, and then Gail came in, and she'd been talking about the password, putting the 22-letter password in, and Gail said, because again, remember it very clearly, Gail said, "And if that had been somebody in John's team, it would have been sorted in a fortnight, or they wouldn't have been at work." And that was just like, bang. That was like being hit by a train. Just that one sentence just shook me out of everything. It floored me. And inside, again, I still get shivers when I retell this. Inside, my body said 3 times, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. And as that happened, before I'd even said anything to say, I need to take a couple of weeks off, I felt this an actual physical weight shift down my body, and I felt my body saying, excuse me, but this is what I said, thank fuck he's finally listened. And everything changed after that, everything.
John, it sounds like you had a holy shift. And everything changed. Why don't you tell us more about what changed?
Well, I mean, at first I was devastated, absolutely devastated to be off work. It was a critical time for the organisation. I'd actually been acting CEO just before that. The existing CEO was having a well-deserved break. It was we were just about to produce a big exercise that we'd done, and I just felt I was letting everybody down. So I was devastated. But then the speed and the scale at which things changed really shook me. I practiced self-care, genuine self-care for the first time. I started putting myself first. I spent a lot of time in nature. I slowed down. Right through winter, I'd spend hours just sitting outside on a park bench or sitting by a river. And within weeks, like, work had gone from everything to something that I could see with absolute clarity had been having a devastating impact on my health. And that inward journey just intensified. The more time I spent in stillness and nature, the more insight I had, and the more I started to see how old beliefs and systems and stories were no longer serving me, and it just snowballed from there, Heather.
So now that you decided at that moment to take the time to focus on you, and you had more time, tell us some more about the people that supported you during that time.
Yeah, the MBA community. I mean, I get with respect to my spiritual growth, I describe Eckhart Tolle as the catalyst, and the Inner MBA as the rocket. You know, that's where it really took off. There's few apologies for the ones that I'll miss, and again, put your details in the chat. So working with Charlene was really insightful, and still is. You know, that's where I really started to appreciate the need I had for external validation and the lack of self-worth I had for myself, and how to practice compassion, empathy, and forgiveness to myself, and doing that work with emotions that was amazingly powerful. Ashima as well, amazing. She's written an amazing book, 108 Blessings. It's a beautiful book. Met her in a breakout room, and she did energy healing sessions with her. And this is what was blowing my mind. These were people I never even met on different continents, working remotely. What Ashima told me was going on in my body turned out to be so prophetic that what came up years, it was just amazing. Then there's Leadership Labs, Charlene and Kevin, amazing, offering on their MBA. Cara, who I worked with, her sessions was instrumental in getting me back on the bike, which you'll hear a bit more later. I joined some offerings where I became curious, and I actually looked on the calendar for two things that I'd be most skeptical about and least interested in. And one was the wisdom of flowers. Sorry, Anne-Marie, but you know this story. And because I've been very skeptical of people, you know, who spoke to flowers and stuff. But then again, what I got from that was amazing increased knowledge about nature, flowers, and some amazing connections that I've carried through today. Then I did a course in miracles, which again, that word miracle was majorly triggering for me, and I had so much judgment about it. But going through that, I met Kim, who's been turned out to be a great friend, and over the years, and that led to getting up with yourself, Heather, Kim, and Kate, the Soul Sisters chat that we set up to support each other. I mean, there's just so much, and I'm really sorry because I'll have missed some people, but that maybe gives you an idea of the scale.
Well, thank you, John, for sharing all those details. Anybody wants to hear more about those, like John said, we encourage you that if you have a program, please put it in the chat. People want to hear about it. This has been John's journey. And we can all agree that we've too had those experiences in the connection groups. So, John, you've shared your emotional and your spiritual transformation. I'm pretty sure most people are wondering about your physical pain, and was there anything specific that occurred where you felt that same nudge, or were there any pivotal moments revolving around the pain, the chronic pain for 30 years?
Yeah, this is really, I use that word miracle quite a lot now, but this really is. So thanks to all that inner work, I started to feel a deep sense of peace that was beyond the scope of anything I could have imagined. I just couldn't imagine you could actually feel like that. And I stopped identifying with the pain. I had to actually ask people to stop asking me how I was doing physically, because the conversation would go like this: how are you? I'd say, I'm doing really well. I'm doing well. Even though there was all that judgment about me saying I was doing well while I was off work. I'd say, I'm doing well. They'd say, no, you're not sore anymore. I'd say, no, I'm still sore. And they'd look kind of confused. So I asked my brothers and a few close friends, ask me how I'm doing, but don't ask me how I'm doing physically, because I had this sense that I didn't want to be identified by that pain anymore. Then I arrived at this amazing place where I fully accepted the pain and the lack of physical activity. I accepted that I no longer needed to be physically active or free from pain to be happy or fulfilled. And that's the goal I'd been chasing for 30 years after being defined by pain for 30 years. I then started some more of these nudges come in journal, and I started journaling things like part of your pain is linked to blocked emotions and suppressed blocked energy and suppressed emotions, without even really knowing what that meant. Then this is, out of all the crazy stuff that's happened over the year, this is the craziest. I was walking up to bed about 11:30 at night, and I had this inner voice, this feeling. I'll use the inner voice. I'm still trying to find the right language to describe this. That says, you need to go back up to the park, the park up the street, the reservoir where I spent so much time. And I didn't question that now, because this kind of thing was happening more often. So I said to Gail, I'm going up to the park, and she rolled her eyes. She's another one of John's schemes. So I drove the car, because again, it's a very short hill, but I couldn't physically walk up the hill. So I had to drive 1 minute to walk to the park. I walked around the park, and there's no other way to describe this than I was drawn to a specific tree. Then I was drawn to hold the tree. And I was like looking around and saying, oh my God, I've gone full-blown trippy, hippie tree hugger, looking around to make sure nobody could see. I held the tree, and like, I'll never tire of telling this, because it was just so amazing. Like, crystal clear, the words came through, crystal clear. Your soul's healed, your body's going to heal. You don't need to do anything. When the right thing comes along, you'll know. Right? And again, by that stage, so much had happened that I thought, well, it didn't even really freak me out. I just said, well, I'll just wait then. I'll wait for the right thing to come about. Then I was on Jeremy Hunter's, who's one of the faculty members on the Inner MBA. I was on one of his deep dive offerings, which again were fantastic. And in the very last session, Alec went to speak. I'd never met before. He was another participant. And as soon as Alec started speaking, I had the same body feeling inside from the tree. There was no question. It was like when the tree said, when the right thing comes along, you'll know. My whole body said, Alec's the right thing. You need to work with Alec. And that's when the miracle happened.
Wow. And just even your sharing shows that you following all these nudges, following all these breadcrumbs, by being in community, exposing yourself. And that tree story I've heard before, and I just have to say, it's because of you sharing that story that I opened up to my first experience with a tree. And now I have a relationship with these trees that I never thought I could ever have.
Hi, John. Happy gratitude party. Happy spring. Happy Nowruz. I think it's true for a lot of us that we have changed as the result of our experience in this Inner MBA program. I'm very grateful to be part of this community. Congratulations, my friend.
John, I want to thank you. You are such a gift. You're one of the most important people in my life for healing me, helping me by being you and being brave and being honest from the very beginning, from Aunt Marie's wisdom of flowers and from the crayon therapy, just who you are. Being ourselves is the gift that we have that we could share. And that's the greatest gift. So thank you.
I feel so touched to express gratitude to you, John. I am impressed with how vulnerable you have been, how open you have been, how warm your heart is, and how you touched my life. I know I touched your life. You've said that a few times, so thank you. But you've touched mine as well. And I also am extremely grateful for the Inner MBA for connecting us. Not just us, but so many others.
Thanks so much for this invitation and for this brilliant idea of having a gratitude party. You have enriched me and the members of the Healing Circle and the wider Inner MBA. Thank you for being honest and vulnerable and open and sharing so authentically. This interconnection that you and I have, that each other within this circle and within Inner MBA has, this is how we're changing the world.
I have known John Kenny for over 4 years now. We met through the Inner MBA. We met in the Trust Circle. And I was there at that pivotal moment that he and Gail, his wife, made the decision for John to step back from his corporate responsibilities and focus solely on his health and healing. What's transpired since then has been nothing less than miraculous and a testament to John's fortitude and focus and ability to heal.
Just wanted to express my gratitude to all of you. I love being part of this amazing group of humans doing wonderful work in the world. John, congratulations on all the inner work you've done, for the courage that it took to do the hard things. And I celebrate you today and always, and I celebrate this leg of the journey that you're entering. You're amazing. You're solid. Really, you are one of the most amazing humans I know. So grateful for our relationship.
John, my time in getting to know you has just been an incredible gift. The way that we met, you coming to a class that you thought you would hate and challenging yourself. I'm so glad you came to that class. I did not know when I first joined what I would possibly use the Inner MBA for. It was for community. It was for like-minded people. It was to meet my soul brothers and my soul sisters. It was to build an infrastructure of community and connection. And we do this for each other. We lift each other up. And so I'm heartfelt gratitude for all of my friends in the Inner MBA. You know who you are.
John Kenny, congratulations on a courageous and beautiful journey to right here, right now. I'm so glad I've been a little bit of it. So many reasons to be grateful for our friendship and for you. I am grateful because I now know, thanks to you, what to call a fish with no eyes, a bear with no ears, and I know what a bartender might say to a horse that walks into a bar. Plus, I have a great story about a turtle on Christmas Eve. And if anyone ever asks me where I learned all these gems, I will give you a little bit of a nod by saying, no idea. So the attitude is in the gratitude, and I think there's a song that's calling me to dance right now.
John is one of the finest humans I've ever met. He's kind, compassionate, generous, and humble. But what is incredible is his level of self-awareness and his willingness to have faith in the unseen and unmeasurable. John and I were together in Inner MBA, and it was in one of the breakout groups that I shared my favorite quote with him. Let me fall if I must. The one I become will catch me. And that was the beginning of our enduring connection. when I began doing energy healing work with him that has transcended time, space, and our own belief systems. My blessings to John. May his extraordinary journey inspire millions to live their fullest life with tenacity, courage, and love.
So the next part of the story, John is going to share a video compilation that he created. And seeing is truly believing his miracle. John, can you just remind us where you were physically before you started working with Alec?
I was unable to walk upside the hill outside the house. I had limited use of my right arm. I was in constant upper body pain. If I travelled anywhere by the airport, I needed wheelchair assistance. Alec had asked me, I remember this in our first session, to imagine what a great outcome would be from working with him. In the scope of my imagination, I thought if I could walk up the short hill outside the house so that I didn't have to, so as I could walk to the local park rather than the 1 minute drive, then that would be amazing. That was the scope of my ambition. See this smile? This is a smile of somebody who's got their body back. This is a smile for somebody who 5 or 6 weeks ago didn't think they could walk from the house to the local park, who in the last week has done an 8-mile walk, climbed up to a 400-metre peak, climbed over a few other hills, and culminated today in a 10-mile walk through a glen over a 2,000 feet pass. If you're receiving this, you're receiving it from a place of deep gratitude, love and thanks for being part of this, because without you and without all of you, I wouldn't have got to this point that was beyond the framework of what I could even imagine. I decided to have a rest day today. I went for a short walk, and then I guess what I can only describe is my body decided it wanted to go up this proper hill. I think 27 years since I last climbed the Munro. This is Matthew, my son, and we're on our second Munro of the day, about to be followed by a third. Amazing. Come to Tentsmoor Beach for a walk. Started walking down to the beach and I just kept getting a niggle. Take your sandals off, go bare feet, leave your phone, eat your banana now, dump all your stuff. Don't take a backpack, don't take water, just travel really light. So to be free, light, I thought, well, this stuff's working for me so far, I'll just give it a go. As soon as I dropped my stuff and started walking over the dunes to the beach, my body just said run. So as I do now, I kind of trust it, and ran bare feet over the dunes, over the beach, wet sand, flat sand, dry sand, hilly sand. And I just come back to the car, an hour and 10 minutes without stopping. I mean, what the fuck? Bloody hell. 12 months earlier, at the start of my physical transformation, I had walked around the island of Coll with a friend Nige. The distance is a half marathon. At the time when I excitedly shared this with Alec, he told me I'd be back the next year. Only this time I'd be running it instead of walking. Not for the first time I thought Alec was crazy. Not for the first time he was right. Well, half right. I did in fact enter the half marathon race, and after completing it, I decided to do another lap, thus completing my first ever marathon. Prior to running the marathon, I had ran a grand total of 12 times in the previous 30 years.
Winds, I think, are going to be about 50 mile an hour, lots of rain. It's just absolutely bonkers. I'm going to stay in today and just be like any sensible, normal person. There's your dad.
See you soon, girl. Bye.
Going swimming. He's bonkers.
So, on the walk down to this beautiful spot from the cottage, I was just thinking about how I've been able to do all these things this week that I would never have imagined in my wildest dreams. And I was just walking down to this walk today thinking, geez, I wonder what else I never dared for that I could do. And it came to me straight away. It said diving into water. Imagine being able to dive into water again. The joy of diving in and swimming underwater and coming back up for air. Oof, again, decades. Then what happens, I come down here to find a pontoon. And I'm thinking, is this a sign? Can I dive? What do you think? I think we all know the answer to that. I know this isn't very safe, cycling through London with a phone and a video, but how good is that?
John, it's a pretty difficult thing to sum up my gratitude for you in 60 seconds, but here we go. When we met for the first time, I was a newly minted chronic pain coach, and you were my first paid client. I was unsure about, could I bring this work to other people? And seeing your transformation has been one of the most life-giving things in my life. Your recovery, what you have done, continues to inspire me literally every day. And at times when I am feeling stuck or overwhelmed or questioning, I think back to, I use you as a resource, what Jeremy taught us, and remember just how powerful a transformation can be. When we met for the first time outside the Ted Lasso pub in Richmond, I was bawling because in the same way that this work has changed your life, our relationship, you have changed my life for the better. So I'm so grateful for you. Thank you. And thank you to the Inner MBA for bringing us together, because without that container, we wouldn't be here. I love you.
So the seeing is the believing, John. And that was so powerful. And I think hearing about what your relationship now is with pain might give some insight to where you are right now.
Yeah, thanks, Heather. Yeah, so it's completely transformed. I'm not pain free. All the work I did with Alec was on the lower body pain injuries that I had. I have got a diagnosed condition in my neck, which I can largely manage. I have numbness in my fingers, but I now have periods where I'm pain free, which is just is amazing. And when you've not had that for such a long time, I would say it's lost its grip on me now, and I don't fear it. I don't fear pain in anything the way I used to. I look at it as a sign that I need to do something or manage it, or that there's something else going on. So yeah, it's lost its. I'm not identified by it. I don't see everything through its lens, and I'm not as scared of it.
Would you say that you're listening to your body?
Yes, absolutely. I got very curious. I adopted the thing of I wonder what my body could do, rather than the other approaches. I'm going to do this. A lot of the stuff was that you saw. These were spontaneous things, like the running and the diving. I had no plans to do them. My body just says do it. There was one day I was walking back from the physio, which is about a 2-minute walk from the house. And then this inside, Schiehallion, the Scottish guys on the call will know that's quite a famous mountain close to where I live that I'd seen 1,000 times. I moved here for the nature, but never got a chance to go up it. And I just went in the morning and I said to Gail, I'm going to go up Schiehallion. I didn't question that stuff. Now, I made my lunch. 3 hours later, I'm standing on top of this peak thinking, it's amazing, So yeah, in respect to my upper body, I manage that. I minimise, I avoid typing. I still can't type. If I go cycling, I need recovery time after it with my hands and stuff. So it's completely transformed.
It sounds like you have a harmonious relationship with your body now, where you're working together. You're listening to your body, and you're having these joyous experiences that you once had 30 years ago come back for you. That your body is working with you, and you're working with your body. How do you?
It's still scary at times, Heather. I would say, when you get if you twist your knee or you do something, you think, "Oh my God, have I really hurt myself, or is it just the emotions or the energy or what?" So it's still like although it is amazing, but there's a lot of work involved. Still, but it's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, and that's so important for people to hear that. You still have to work through these things, but you come out of it because you have the tools, you have the resources, and you have a community. And when you look back on this, all those years, what comes up for you?
Well, I remember when I stood on that Monroe with Matthew, and he said to me, "Are you pissed off that you couldn't do all this for 30 years and you've worked out that a lot of it was all this lower body pain was to do with the emotions and energy, and are you annoyed that it could have been fixed 30 years ago?" And I was like, honestly, I was like, no, I'm so filled with gratitude. See that regaining something that I thought was lost. Every time I go for a walk, run or swim, I express my gratitude. Every time I stand on top of a mountain, I stop and I sit down and I look around and think, how would I be experiencing this if it's the last time I was ever on top of a mountain? And it's not morbid. It just gives me a deeper appreciation, because one day it will be the last time. Yeah, hopefully that'll be a long time away. But it just that deep appreciation. The other thing that when I look back, I look at the physical pain, even though it was 30 years, is one of the best things that ever happened to me, without a shadow of a doubt. I would never have gone down this road of growth and development Gail, I remember saying to me, might not even have had 4 children if I'd been away every weekend and doing my cycling, my running, and all my competitive things I was doing. Someone else reflected to me. I could even have died. I was very reckless. When I think of how I behaved in the mountains and the things I did, I was so no. I'm just very grateful. And the most amazing thing again, which is quite sometimes hard for people to get when I explain it to them, when you look at those videos, the physical transformation pales into insignificance alongside the spiritual and that inner peace and that inner, which again isn't there all the time. Don't get me wrong, the challenges come and the challenges grow, but I mean that's where the real magic is. It's on the inside. It's not what you can do externally, I think.
Yeah. Whew. Yeah, we've talked about the outer adventure, and what you just described sounds like the inner adventure. So, what are the strongest lessons, you want to share with people that you've learned?
It all starts with, this is for me, yeah. My lessons are my lessons, yeah. That all starts with self-care. That's where everything changed for me. And the realization that self-care didn't just mean physical care, it meant self-love and self-forgiveness, which were very hard lessons for me to learn. Also, you can't do it alone. This inner MBA community and other people on the call and family, all massive part of what's happened. The importance of trust and authenticity, the importance of curiosity. And the main lesson, I think, is that my belief is that we all have our own answers within. I've got my answers, you've got your answers. If we can get the mind out of the way and go inward, as the inner MBA teaches us to do, that's where I think we've all got our own answers there, if we stop and listen.
And that is what you just said, the most amazing experience of ever having a conversation with John, is that he doesn't have the answers. He helps you find the answers within. And so, John, curious, what's your relationship with achievement now, when, all your life you've been pushing yourself and overachieving? For all those overachievers right now,
it's very funny. It's completely different, night and day. I'm much less attached to outcomes, much less planning. I had a spreadsheet for my spreadsheets. Much more curious. It's impacted all areas of my life, and the amount of energy it's freed up by not having to plan and control and strive all the time, and the lightness it brings is it's amazing. It still draws me back in, of course, occasionally. But that just means there's another lesson and more growth. So yeah, it's completely different. Completely different.
Wow. We're loving this. What's next for you, John?
Well, my intention is the knowing, that inner voice, is to share my story with confidence and conviction from a place of authenticity, love and abundance. I haven't done that. There's been a real thing about judgment around me doing that and stepping into that. So this is my first step to do that. Spending more time in nature. I'm not working. I've got a camper van, so getting away in that. I'm putting together a book about my journey and the lessons I've learned, and I want to dip my toe into further exploring the lessons I've learned with others. I want to connect with more people. So if anything here resonates with you and you'd like to explore it further, I'd love to chat. Yeah, that's it really. Again, I'm not setting big outcomes because that's not work for me. One of the big lessons I've learned, if you try and identify an outcome, you can only do that through the lens of your own experience, yeah? Because that's all you can imagine. Whereas if you set an intention, you open yourself up to all these things that you could never have thought of. So,
well, thank you, John. And thank you, Andrea, for organizing and co-producing this event. Andrea is a first year, and it feels like we've known you forever. Thank you, Kevin, for your technical producing of this event. It's such a comfort to have you here. So thank you for making this easier on us. Thank you, Amy, for allowing us to use this time and this space when she normally holds the healing circle. And thank you for providing that space for us for the past 4 or 5 years. And thank you to all the other connection group leaders. John has mentioned so many here, and there are many, many more. Thank you to all who submitted videos. Your voices and your stories, they help us share the power of community and its role in amazing transformations like John's. We are the gold. And thank you, Tammy Simon, and everyone at Soundstrue for creating this Inner MBA for us. Thank you, John, for trusting me and letting me trust myself in this conscious production. You've been a lifeline for me and me for you. I also just want to say, if there's anyone out there who has an Inner MBA story and they want to share it, reach out. We would love to hear about it.
And I must thank Heather for everything, Heather. Your energy and what you put in it today has been awe-inspiring, and I'm just hugely grateful for that, and for everything, and for everybody on this call, and then watches it subsequently. Thank you, everybody. I had this idea to do this gratitude party quite a while ago, and everything I've asked for has come to fruition. So thank you, everybody.
John, what do you think? Should we have a little dance party at the end?
If anybody wants to dance, because there's always time for a dance on or off camera.
And if anyone says they can't dance, John, how are you going to respond to that?
Heather asked me that when I said I couldn't dance, and the answer was, even if you could dance with your arms, if you're sitting, even if you can't do that, if your body can't dance, your soul can dance. So, which is beautiful, I think.
So I'm going to let Kevin tee us up for our final energy releasing gratitude dance party.
I just wanted to mention there's so many nuggets in the chat that we will capture later. We're going to save the chat and send it out. So, or I will.
Absolutely. Yay. Yay, John. Yay, y'all. Let's dance. Here we go.